Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Christopher Wynn. I'm an attorney with Aberrant Law, and between Racy Rodney and I, we represent Norhan Askar, and she is the passenger who was in the vehicle with Winston Smith at the time he was shot. Our client would like to share a story, which starts with plans for a lunch date with Winston Smith. They met through mutual friends, had known each other for over 6 months, and had been dating for several weeks. Mr. Smith met her at another parking lot so she would not have to pay for parking when they went to Stella's. Mr. Smith changed his shirt because it was hot and his shirt was sweaty. They drove to the top of a ramp, walked downstairs, had lunch, laughed, had a couple of drinks, and enjoyed each other's company. They walked back to the car, entered the car, and were suddenly surrounded by unmarked cars and people with guns. These people were dressed in neither sheriff nor peace officer uniforms. They yelled commands and did not announce themselves as law enforcement of any kind. While yelling commands for them to put their hands up, multiple armed people targeted their weapons upon Ms. Askar and Mr. Smith. Our client complied with their commands, scared for her life. Mr. Smith had a mobile device and began to Facebook Live. As he raised his phone, all Ms. Askar could hear was gunfire and saw Mr. Smith's body slump over. After the barrage of bullets, they pulled her out of the car, handcuffed her, and placed her into the back of an unmarked car. She remained handcuffed until an ambulance arrived to provide her medical attention. An officer later asked her how her date was. Besides the trauma of having her lunch date shot to death while seated immediately next to her, our client was sprayed with broken glass, shot out by law enforcement. Glass that even today, she is taking out of her skin. Our client continues to heal. She is experiencing a roller coaster of emotions related to this case, and even being in a car brings significant anxiety. Our client never saw a gun in the car, and to be clear, she never saw Winston Smith in possession of a gun.
The agencies involved in the killing of Winston Smith and our elected officials have shown zero interest or have demonstrated no political appetite for requiring transparency or accountability. Furthermore, the BCA claims that they cannot release the names of the sheriff's deputies involved as they were undercover officers. Law enforcement has a duty to announce themselves, and the selection of undercover officers to execute a warrant, knowing that they're required to announce themselves, is a clear display of incompetence. The BCA has informed us that they also failed to take gunshot residue tests from the body of Mr. Smith. And the body of Mr. Smith was washed by the Hennepin County Medical Examiner before these tests were conducted. This evidence would assist in figuring out whether Mr. Smith had a gun or not. It would reinforce the story that Ms. Askar is telling us today. Given the public's significant investment of resources and money, training, equipment, and policy creation to implement body-worn cameras into law enforcement, the effort to circumvent these transparency and accountability measures is an affront to the rule of law and the work of so many that have put forward in their law enforcement agencies. We ask the public to join us in demanding better and holding law enforcement to a higher standard, because all Minnesotans deserve to have trust and confidence in the law enforcement agencies and agents. We will be bringing a lawsuit on behalf of our client, and the underlying cause of the action is a violation of her civil rights. Thank you very much, and we'll stand for questions if anyone has any.